Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective.
Oh, okay. Nice. And what does this say? Is this like a newer game or what?
It's 7:02. Do you know where your privilege is?
Yeah, I haven't checked it today yet. Perhaps I should. Okay, let's see here. This story seems to be starting like every other game. Some poor, helpless woman is alone and defenseless, and someone's going to hurt her, I guess. Which, in reality, this is sort of a realistic depiction of a woman's life. Is pretty much always in danger of being attacked by some male.
Yeah.
That's, at least they got that part accurate. And of course, okay, this guy's dead. After all, do you see any other dead bodies? Okay. So, let's see here.
So he's dead with his ass stuck up in the air. Obviously, he and his girlfriend were doing some pegging action. Maybe this guy's a little bit more, a little bit more evolved. But then this other guy comes and interrupts them, kills him, maybe.
Right, man. Well, maybe he's insecure about somebody else's, sexual interaction because it's not, domineering enough as far as the male is concerned. So now let me see if I understand this. This guy, this dead guy, who was presumably dead before this other asshole shows up to assault this woman, his ghost is now going to inhabit the objects surrounding her, and that's going to save the woman.
Yeah.
So
even in death, he is less helpless than the woman, and still needs to save her.
Wow. Interesting. Sad. That's fucking sad.
And then the assailant, of course, is a blue-skinned man, because people of color are all violent. They're all violent criminals.
Sure.
Judging from the background, I'm guessing that this takes place in Baltimore.
So yeah, so far it seems that okay, so she winds up dead anyway. Well, this was planned.
Yeah, and here's this guy manspreading even in death.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Now you have this the lamp from the Pixar films talking to his ghost.
So we're to
Isn't it
believe.
a shame to see such a pretty young woman lying there discarded like garbage? Well, what if she wasn't your body standard?
Right. Yeah, she's pretty. Notice they had to note that.
Yeah.
So if it was an overweight girl or an unattractive girl, well, then it wouldn't be a shame anymore, I guess. So determined to save this woman. No, yeah.
Why didn't they just say, "Oh, isn't it a shame to see such a pretty white woman laying on the ground here, discarded like trash?" It says, just lying around.
Again, I like how they keep saying that. Does a female who dies have powers?
No,
obviously not. Right? Yeah, because she would be doing this shit herself, right?
Yeah.
Right. But
they'd be wasted on her if she. This guy gets his poltergeist privilege, but of course a woman can't have these powers. They would be wasted on her, and even if she did, she would just hate herself for being a sterile ghost.
A helpless woman,
She jumped from her corpse to a lamp, then to a painting on the wall, then to a jar of pickles, and she wouldn't have the strength to open the jar of pickles, and that would be that.
Yeah, that is true. And of course, probably this asshole would come along and open it for her, and then, we'd be right, okay. Maybe she sees a spider or something and gets scared, and then he has to come along and,
Now he's jumped into her body without her consent, which she can't even give. And they're talking in some spirit realm that looks like a vaginal vortex or a birth canal of some kind.
They're just going to inhabit her body, and they're going to have a discussion in it, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come on in, guys. Just lay down have a picnic in there. So he travels back in time, just like this is a lot like that. It's a lot like that movie Groundhog Day, which, for those who have seen it, it's one of the most misogynist films ever made.
Yeah, I remember.
A man is given supernatural powers to go back in time again and again and again, and he gets as many chances as he likes just to impress some woman, so she'll go out with him. It is the most bald-faced appeal to entitlement fantasies. I mean, you might as well have just cast Elliot Rodger as the lead of that movie.
Boo-hoo. Oh, God, poor guy. If only he could have 1,000 chances, then maybe he could get the prize, right?
And seeing as how in 999 of those chances she wouldn't give consent, but it seems like fate has destined, he essentially rapes her.
Right,
because
absolutely.
It's inevitable. Time will continue to loop up until the point where it doesn't show anything, but it's assumed that he has quote-unquote sex with her.
Right. Yeah.
So it's inevitable. The universe itself is helping him sexually assault this woman, and like I said, score with her whether she wants it or not.
Just keep manipulating her over and over and over.
You can play Bach on the piano with your toes. Oh, but that's not enough for her. That's not enough for that frigid cunt and her. Yeah, that's the power of propaganda, and that's why what we're doing is so important.
You know, and just like with the main character in Groundhog Day, you're rooting for him and you feel sorry for him. In this game, at the very beginning, when he's sitting in the manspreading in the dump as a dead corpse, he says, "I'm not the kind of guy," I remember reading this, "who just leaves a woman laying around like a piece of trash." Yeah. Right? Well, okay. Well, you want a standing ovation? We're supposed to think that that's a heroic, like a noble quality. He even gives her a second chance. Thanks to this dead man, she even has a second chance, maybe even multiple chances.
Well, yeah, you know what she has is she has a second chance to die just to advance his plot. See, normally you have a woman getting killed or kidnapped to advance the plot of the male protagonist. This woman has the honor of dying again and again and again in order to advance the plot of the male protagonist. It's sick.
Absolutely, yeah. Because, that there's a problem in games where you kill the females, they're dead. Oh, well, I know. We can just have a game where that death doesn't matter. It's not a permanent thing, so we can just keep doing this over and over and over again. She just becomes another tool for the male hero, this piece of shit, in the game to exploit over and over and over again.
The other thing you'll notice is not only does he just let himself into all these objects, and he lets himself into her body, he lets himself right into her body without her consent, right?
Yeah.
This is because in games like this, the male player cannot help but treat these female bodies as things to be acted upon because they were designed, constructed, and placed in the environment for that singular purpose. The male players are meant to derive a perverse pleasure from desecrating the bodies of unsuspecting female virtual characters like this.
Absolutely. It's perfectly put.
You'll notice they killed the blue guy with this comical fashion, rolling a giant, not a boulder, but a wrecking ball over him.
You're right, like a goddamn Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, and that's because of course he's not white, so we have to ingrain that slapstick callousness to the news of their deaths. There's no chance that he could go to like some after school sports and reform or anything like that. No, they die, and white people just turn the newspaper over and read something about their stocks. They don't care about anyone of color being killed.
Right, sure. What's on sale? What can I buy again today? And not to mention the fact that it almost makes it look not only slapstickish, as you put it, but like an accident. Just make it look like an accident. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he broke his own spine somehow. It had nothing to do with
there wasn't a white guy anywhere around at all. There definitely wasn't a white guy with an abundance of control over the situation, behind the murder of this minority. No, not at all. Whoops. Ball rolled over him. Nobody saw anything. No big deal. And also he was blue, so imagine how somebody who... do you really want to live in a world where young men who play these games day in and day out, do you really want to see how they're going to treat their wives in the future? Jesus.
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to be awful. Domestic abuse must have spiked out of control in the years following this. It's like, well, she walked into a door, she fell down some stairs. A poltergeist just threw a blender at her from across the room. It had nothing to do with me. She's just clumsy and/or cursed.
Right. Probably. Yeah, probably both. And a ball rolled over. Big steel ball just rolled over. No big deal. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's dead. You know.
I think that was Oscar Pistorius's defense.
She's dead. Oh well, you know.
This is all just a disgusting voyeuristic fantasy, you know.
Right.
Males, a world where males have the ability to just jump into objects, and of course they're using them to jump into women's underwear or tampons and her bath water.
Yeah. Whatever he can weasel his way into. I'm sure we'll get around to all of that very soon. Look at these wealthy pieces of shit. I wonder what they're discussing here.
And they're also blue-skinned. Now you might think that this is like something positive, like showing minorities, showing people of color in positions of wealth and power. But I think really it's just.
I think it's very clever. I think it's maybe even a distraction. Maybe just to try to trick us into thinking. Well, the game does have the word "trick" in it, and maybe it's just to make us think. Well, the whole accidental death of the minority earlier. We'll see. No, we're not racist because look at how wealthy they are.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, so what if, some blue kid got his spine severed? I mean, oh, sure, you have a blue mayor, a blue district attorney, a police force with blue officers, you have a blue state attorney, maybe even a blue attorney general, a blue president. It's all just to disguise white supremacy. And now he's using this technology to whistle at a white woman who's not even there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
no, he's just gonna call in his ghost form and just breathe heavily into the receiver and then hang up again and again.
And again, we're supposed to. Oh, poor guy. We're supposed to be devastated by that. What a bitch.
I'm surprised that I think that if you have the director's cut of that movie we're talking about earlier, what was it, Groundhog Day? There's like 10 whole minutes of him just dying, coming back to life again, calling her, and just breathing into the receiver heavily, and hanging up. He did that for, when you take into account the time travel, the equivalent of just years.
Right.
And
the movie,
she forgets it, of course.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's kind of what we're meant to think about, what's really going on, not what's depicted in the movie, because, I mean, it was PG-13 after all. That's how you get kids to come in and watch it and parents to say, oh, you can see it, it's PG-13. All the while, every male in the audience knows what's really happened in what we haven't seen. He's fondled her, he's probably raped her numerous times, and she, of course, wakes up the next day, has no memory.
Doesn't remember it.
Right, he does. So he gets all the conquest and treats her like this thing he can just use day in, day out, like one of his fucking disposable razors or some shit. And then, so, and of course she doesn't. That's what men are meant to think about, and they do. When they watch it, that's what they. Oh, why couldn't you just have your way with her? Because that's the instinct, that's the impulse. When you're raised in a world with movies like that and games like this, and that's what happens. I mean, that was the generation raised on super ghouls and ghosts and some of those old games.
Yeah.
Right. So
here we are. She's just listening to music, reading a book, eating donuts. Not a care in the world. This is all. None of the realistic challenges that young women face are portrayed. It's all just portrayed as just being carefree, easy.
Right. Yeah, because real women don't constantly worry about how males view their bodies, so they just sit around and eat donuts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Sad. So here's this asshole again. Suppose we've gone back in time. Now he's killing the dog.
Yep. This is a separate hitman, but he looks he's blue. He's a minority, so of course he looks exactly identical.
Oh, so this is a different person.
Yeah, the other guy was Nearsighted Jigo. This is, I believe, One Step Ahead Tango.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different guy, but of course, he's a male minority, so they all look the same, and he'll probably die under similar comical circumstances.
Oh yeah, a fucking piano will fall on his head or something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's depressed as shit. She's sitting around listening to her fucking music because it's the only thing she can relate to. Stuffing her face with donuts. Probably has an eating disorder.
Yeah, I think that the dad just went out for more donuts one day and just never came back. And she dropped her headphones, her electric headphones, into a fish tank because women in technology, right?
Yeah, no shit. Now she's probably gonna reach in there. That he's gonna have to slap her hand away or something.
And of course, she has an entire tray of donuts. Just sits there eating donuts. She's gonna, and you know, she's gonna grow up to a world where people just relentlessly body shame her, force her to exercise to burn off all that weight. Meanwhile, men get away with these lazy dad bods and these guts.
So let's see here. I can't figure this out. Did he save the animal or did he save the little girl?
Well, both, because he drew the dog under the couch in an attempt to get the girl to follow the dog, and then they were both hiding under the couch when the evil person of color shows up.
Right, yeah, that's a good thing. Good thing.
Just hiding behind the woodpile with a sniper rifle.
I can't believe they gave the little girl the same value as the animal at all.
Yeah.
Interesting. That is interesting. I would have figured the way this game's gone so far that they would have had the ghost draw the little girl out, she gets shot in the head, and then the dog is fine, and then now the dog and him go on to help each other through the rest of the story, try to get him laid.
Saron, did you know that despite the fact that women are more spiritually attuned in many ways than men, only 7% of women are ghost detectives?
I bet you if we were to compare the release of a lot of the games that we're doing here in this series with sex crime statistics, you would see just enormous spikes in the sex crimes against women.
Yeah.
Almost directly, and I know what people are going to say, correlation, causation, blah, 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 but don't feed me that shit. There's only so many times you can see a trend before you start making that connection.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Whether it's like the mainstream AAA industry pumping out misogyny, whether it's, somewhat offbeat games like this for the DS, kind of these sleeper hits, I guess you'd call them, or even on the indie scene, people making misogynist games and getting supported on Patreon.
Oh, whoops. Even her phone is made of gold. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's a golden telephone, Hubby must have had several affairs if he's had to buy her off this much. But I mean, this is what we're also kind of being taught. This is okay. This is an okay way to look how well she has it. I mean, her husband's gone, banging all these other girls. He's earning all the money. He's actually living a life. She's cooped up in this tiny apartment. But we're to sort of feel like she's fortunate to be there at the same time because she has all of these expensive things, right? She has her hair done. She has large jewelry. She has a golden telephone, a bunch of books on the shelf.
And then a daughter with a bag of conflict diamonds on her head, just put there in a giant bag.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're back in Baltimore.
Mm. How much time has passed? Well, it's hard to tell how much time has passed. Well, this is interesting. So I guess we have a lot of wealthy white guys in suits hanging around the ghetto. So obviously,
police. Yeah,
right. They're either detectives or members of an organized crime family or something.
Yeah.
Those are about the only two options there.
Yeah.
Or they're slumlords or something. They're there to serve eviction notices, maybe.
Organized crime. I like how white crime is organized and other crime isn't.
Right, white crime is organized, and then you have the blue crime in the city. We've seen what that looks like.
Even when they're showing no regard for the law, white people still need to somehow distinguish what they're doing as being more dignified. It's like, well, our crime is organized, and that makes it better.
Even their suits are better.
Yeah. So here they're talking about important white stuff.
Mm-hmm. And did my eyes deceive me here? Is that a blue doctor?
Yeah, yeah.
Clever. Very clever.
Right.
So we're back to this.
Throw in your token person of color with but he's still in a sort of sidekick mode, you know. Just
absolutely, yeah. And he looks sort of like he's a strange looking guy.
Yeah, comic relief doctor.
Right.
Magical exactly. Blue man trope.
Matter of fact, maybe just a doctor for some sort of like organized crime syndicate or something, you know, like one of those.
What the hell is this?
Hmm. Well, he's white, he's dressed nice, so he's obviously in charge of something. I know that much already. Yeah, look at the way he struts around, arrogant as shit. Look at this.
From the dance moves and the inexplicable umbrella, I think he's the guy from the window licker video made by Aphex Twin.
Okay, that's interesting.
And here's another example of cultural appropriation, as this white person has this giant afro weave that they feel that they have a right to.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the victim here, the white man says.
Look at that. Of course. Oh, of course you are.
I'm hardly jealous of you. Yeah, you're all jealous of each other.
You notice the blue doctor dared to raise his voice to the white man. He shut that pretty goddamn fast. Pretty fucking fast.
Looks like he licked that window a little too hard. He cracked it.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the office immediately. Well, yes, master, right away.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. Even someone who's presumably went to medical school gets talked down to. Yeah.
So it looks like she's been shot again and killed again.
Yeah, that's her role in the story.
Yeah.
She's just like a like a blow up doll. They can just enter and kill and dispose of over and over and over again. Well, what do we have here? Is someone actually concerned that this woman has died? Whoops.
Yeah. How'd they let that get past the...
no shit.
How'd they let that get in there?
It's amazing how much of this we've actually seen played, and that's the first time that a male character has shown even a little bit of concern for the dead woman. But what's interesting about that is that he's not really concerned about the woman. Now, a lot of people, I know our audience, they're a little bit more advanced than most people because, I mean, let's face it, if you're watching these videos, you're a little bit smarter than your average person. But they probably noticed that he's only concerned about his job. He's not actually worried that the woman is dead. I mean, he is a detective of some stature or whatever, and he's worried about his job and his reputation as a man because, you know, the job makes the man and that sort of thing. So he's worried about his rep. He doesn't give a shit about this woman's life or what it meant or that she's dead. Just,
he's talking to the woman's soul, but she takes on the form or visage of the last man that she saw, which of course immediately makes our white phantom detective uncomfortable because he just has zero tolerance for transgender people, even transgender ghosts.
Right.
Well, you can be certain of one thing. If I had de facto immortality due to living the same day over and over again forever, I wouldn't use even one of those days to relive the horror that was ghost-privileged transphobic detective. We give this game a final misogyny rating of 4 Chris Browns out of 5. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already.